Ladies and Germans, how are you all doing? This is Con Over coming to you with some more Company of Heroes 2 1v1 action. I know I promised you guys a couple other things in the meantime. Just before we really get going in this particular match, to give you a state of the channel kind of idea, we are super, super close to 4 digits. Guys, we can do it. Share the love. Spread the word. I know we can do it. And you know what? Frankly, if you guys don't continue giving me love, then I die a little bit inside. I'm just kidding. But anyway, let's get to the game right now. We'll go from there. So today's combatants playing down on Angoville itself in the south, playing... Let's turn it down a little bit more. Playing the blue-trunked forces of the Wehrmacht, it is BartonPL. We haven't seen him in a little bit of time. And he is already wiring off one of these god houses right here. You can see this thing is just always a magnet for conflict. Just windows all over the place. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. He's continuing to wall off everything going into this area, both to preserve the connection with the higher up resources, but also to save this VP right here. Now, he's bringing to the fray a mechanized assault doctrine with those new kind of souped up assault grenadiers, elite troops doctrine, and mobile defense doctrine. Now, I'm missing already. Oh, okay, so the MG42 is already getting himself into the action. His opponent is going to be the USF under the command of steffenbk1. Now, Steffen's decided to go for that armor company. So, despite the fact that he's got the armor company selected, he has not opened up into assault engineers, which is a very uncommon thing. Usually, if you see someone go for assault company, or rather, excuse me, armor company, assault engineers is what I want to be saying. Usually you see that kind of happen being the first decision, or the first troop brought onto the map, and then you go into a couple of rifleman squads. Instead, Steffen's decided to go just straight to double rifleman and a mortar opening. So very, very different than what you might have expected otherwise. In the meantime, though, Germans have seized the eastern fuel, the Allies the west, and this MG42 is going to get pressured back just a little bit. But we do have another MG42 sliding up, so that could be quite devastating if he gets a chance. There we go. So that's suppressed right there. So see them pinned probably in a second or two? No, not quite yet. But this other machine gun is going to have more than enough opportunity. Does he see that mortar is a question. It could be close. He does. He sees it, but he's not going to be able to get a burst of fire off at all. Steffen, in the meantime, going for his second mortar. That could be kind of interesting and maddening. Bart, in the meantime, going for a machine gun spam, not even going for any sort of grenadiers whatsoever, completely skipping the infantry company. And really, if you line yourself up appropriately, a lot of Angoville, especially in the east, is extremely short firefights. You can see between these two garrisons, between this entire area, really. You're having the pioneers charging on in. I've rarely seen this kind of playstyle develop before. And I don't know really how well this is going to work, but Barton is kind of an innovator every now and again. Not all the time, mind you, but definitely keeping things interesting for us. I always kind of respect that. Machine gun setting up. He's going to probably pour fire into this garrison? No, he's going to pour fire... No, he is going for the garrison. So the question is, if these machine guns can stay in the fray for a little bit longer here, not get picked off with models or anything like that, we could see a very big loss for the Americans. Of course, these pioneers are getting cut to pieces as well. We have one guy down to one model. We have another machine gun down to barely any health. He might even go down and retreat. Depends. But no, it looks like he escapes just barely. These rifleman squads are devastated. Look at them. They're both hiding inside this garrison, and they have practically no health between the two of them. But while that's going on, this last rear echelon squad is capping out the western side of the map, so the Americans are definitely on their way up in terms of resource generation. And pioneers have not been able to take that final model off of the rifleman squads. But they are forcing the mortars back to home base. That's going to be stopped in just a second here, as a machine gun is just barely kept out of play. And finally, at long last, we see a Leichte Mechanized Company coming out. Barton having teched up to Battle Phase 1 through that entire very strange opening. And now with this machine gun up in the northern house, these riflemen are going to have a tough time getting out, at least until the mortars reset themselves to aim for that garrison. Watch these guys hop in and out, though, the second they start coming under fire. And not quite breaking it down just yet, but I imagine that'll happen soon enough. Meanwhile, to the south, rear echelon's coming under fire from another one of these MGs that's backed up. And first our veterancy, I think it's probably going to go over to the Germans as, yep, there it is, as they've been able just to play very unorthodox Angoville. This garrison is going to fall back into control of the U.S., I think, in just a moment here as the riflemen try to continue to drive south. But with 2 machine guns here, it's going to be very difficult, I would think, to circumvent these mobile fire support positions. While these guys seem to be playing in a very crazy manner, I have to say, just the other day, guys, I want to let you know I did manage to pre-order exactly Dawn of War 3. So April 27th, guys, that game drops then. I will actually put up a couple videos, that day. Our normal video, and then if you look later in the afternoon or evening, you'll get to see some of that game as well. But let's continue on this particular map for the time being. We are going to see the Germans have seized part of a cutoff. There's still a tiny bit over here. There's a little arterial that's not being covered necessarily. Oh, never mind. The machine gun's going to be able to suppress these riflemen any second here. Yep, so they're going to get suppressed and pulled back, I'm assuming, any second now. Mortars, in the meantime, looking over here to the eastern side, probably start dropping rounds on either of these 2 positions. Kind of irritating for the Germans. But this second machine gun right here, we just continue to have fallback position after fallback position. One MG getting almost taken out, but Pigran's coming in now to really put the hurt on this rifleman. And it looks like they decided to go for that elite troops doctrine, so the stun grenades as well as the late game Tiger Ace, that should be kind of fun to check out. And now the Pioneers and Pigran's are coming up together, those short range kind of submachine guns really doing some work here. It'd be better if Barton realized that this thing needs to get taken before he can cut off all the American resource generation. But for the moment, though, that doesn't seem to be his primary concern. Now, steffenbk has brought in his Stuart, and that Stuart is still pretty good, despite getting some slight nerf here and there. Rifleman squad does go down. That's a big loss for the Americans, but keeping the Stuart on the field might be just enough to kind of keep them in the fight. Peakrens are going to go for that double Shrek upgrade. That should be more than enough to deflect and even take away the Stuart if people are not careful. And this MG42 is going to get shredded if it doesn't back away immediately. And there he goes. He's going to rush back to home base right now. Germans bringing out a 222 instead, looking to maybe kind of flirt with that Stuart from a long range. Not be the best idea, I would think. And especially if these riflemen have, nope, they don't have AT grenades because none of them have that one, or rather one does. But bringing in those Pigrands is enough to probably take out this Stuart. One more salvo would do it, but no, it doesn't come out. I said the 222 backs away, and as does the Stuart. It would be good if these guys continue to press on forwards, but playing it cautious, playing it cool, makes sense. And with that kind of freedom here, Barton is now capping up the left side of the map. Wehr, in the meantime, continuing to stymie United States efforts to kind of dive through these areas here. Of course, this 222 could ruin that completely by just kind of walking over, or excuse me, driving over that territory. At long last, though, too, we are going to see a potential medic bunker coming on out. And that machine gun continues to be forced away by the indirect fire suppression of those dual mortars. Now, I don't know if steffenbk is trying to hold out for M10s and 105 Sherman spam. Might be a good idea. At the same time, he needs to stay aggressive and stay really competitive for another 6 to 10, well, probably maybe 4 to 6 minutes. I was like 6 to 10 minutes, but it's a little bit much. In the meantime, we're also going to see stormtroopers coming out from behind these mortars, and they're going to cut them to pieces, I would think. And in the south, we're going to see the Stuart charge on forwards into these machine guns, and to go after this 222. 222 is able to limp away, just barely. In the north, one of those mortar squads has been decrewed, and as this 222 has gone down, that's a big hit right there to the German war machine. But these stormtroopers are doing pretty good work by themselves. Stun grenade happening in the meantime, going to go and just barely and deftly dodged by the United States. Stuart, in the meantime, has been able to carve up this wire right here, has driven through and opened up one of those lanes of advance for the American forces. At the same time, over in the west, these Pioneers are not capping this fuel position. I hope that Barton realizes that soon. And the P-Grants are shifting on forwards as well to support, I would think, or deflect this Stuart as it charges forward yet again. steffenbk, after 10 minutes, going in for that ambo, probably a good idea considering how beat up his forces have been in recent minutes. And considering he's under his 2-to-1 cap right now against him, it would be good to start hitting the field with full-strength squads. Strangely enough, he's not just massively reinforcing like crazy.
Send your orders. Heavy truck, ready for orders.
Okay, and so now we're going to see Stuart coming forward again, and I imagine we're going to see the P-Grunts slide in behind to be aggressive about this. They go up the road, they're going up the road. In the meantime, it looks like the captain's trying to go and cap out that fuel point, but that's not going to be a great long-term option for him. In the meantime, double Shreks come on in, hammer that Stuart, but he's going to just kind of calmly drive away, I would think. Although these machine guns are definitely locking on the western side of the map, and that Stuart needs to be in the area to help keep the Americans competitive.
We're losing a capture point.
Steff is doing a great job trying to deflect and push the sides of the map, but Barton just does not seem to be cowed by that at all. Meantime, stormtroopers upgrading themselves to G43s. In the meantime, also seeing that riflemen charging forwards might even take this garrison. No, stormtroopers being procced and jump right back into that building. So between G43 armed riflemen, as well as stun grenades that don't quite catch the retreating rifleman squads, it seems the Americans are going to get pressed back yet again. Now, I'm liking to see the way that both players are trying to stretch the map on both sides. I am a little bit worried about steffenbk's immediate chances with Barton and almost half a commander point ahead, which doesn't sound like much, but getting this half a point sooner would be just terrifying from a certain perspective. Going to battle phase 2 in the meantime, and why shouldn't he? By the time he gets up to that Tiger Ace, all he needs to have is just that manpower. So fuel is pretty much free and clear to be utilized. Stuart, in the meantime, has been repaired by its vehicle crew, and Pioneers have really been capping out the entire map. Barton pressuring the Americans on every side. Looks like he might be able to manage a triple cap. It'd be pretty bad if I'm an American. Oh yes, I forgot too. We also have that interrogation thing. One of the most rarely seen abilities that can be quite good. Riflemen, in the meantime, charging forward into machine guns. We all know how that's going to go. And with the stormtroopers there to defend, the Americans have nowhere they can really troop on in. Shreks, in the meantime, right back forward, right back, sending that Stuart packing again. And again, the two breakwaters right here, it's like Waterloo, and the Brits, and the Americans are the French in that battle. Just every single time they move forward, they're broken in one, and like either this area here or this area here. You can tell by all the mortar fire where the Americans have had to spend so much of their effort and time. In the meantime, we have a machine gun over here on the western side of the map, protecting against any advance from this major right here. An interesting decision considering that that fuel will be better utilized for vehicles later on. And I have to think about this for a second. Okay, Major's going to come under fire any second. Suppressed before he gets the fuel. He'll be retreating soon enough. There he goes. He lost a model and 33% of his health, and he's backing away. Pioneers, in the meantime, doing what they do best, being annoying, throwing down wire all over the place. It'd be kind of interesting to see maybe some mines placed behind this. Okay, I was like, why am I hearing artillery fire? Okay, so the Major threw down an artillery strike. Not that it accomplished very much for his war machine. On the eastern side, we are going to see that these very abused riflemen are making a bit of headway, capping out the munitions point, while steffenbk is going for a third mortar, so he's trying desperately to play for time as his tickets begin to drop precipitously. He's down 130 as it is. 460 to 329, not a good spot for him. Also going to see these P-Guns rushing on in. It'd be good for them maybe to even throw down a bundle grenade on retreat path, but they do not. Instead, just forcing back 2 of the mortars and a rifleman squad. As Pioneers are supported by a machine gun again over the eastern side here. I'm very, very impressed by the way that this has played out. It's such a bizarre build order, but it was working working rather well, I would say, for Barton. It does help that unfortunately steffenbk has not been able to convert on either destroying garrisons or even holding on to them for longer than a couple of moments at a time. Riflemen going to be forced back through this entire curtain of fire. 2 squads of stormtroopers on the retreat path. And with these P-grunts here, yet again, the Stuart's going to come up and take fire like crazy. But no, he does not charge the entire way, backing away before he gets hit yet again. I think the P-grunts are going to make it into the house. They do. Firing at that Stuart and doing what they do best, which is just abusing the ever-living bejesus out of those anti-tank weapons. Captain, in the meantime, doing some damage against those emplaced P-grunts, but the P-grunts are able just to kind of absorb it and just kick out way more damage than they take. In the meantime, over here on the western side, we're going to see a pushback rifleman that's going to get pushed back by a P4 and a machine gun in attendance. Now, the stormtroopers are going to run into this machine gun. No, they're not. They stop just outside the range right there. And they're going to do some good work, I would think, against these mortars. Never mind, they're going to come under fire. There it is. Between the Stuart and the machine gun, the Americans are encouraging those stormtroopers to leave.
A capture point is being overrun.
I'd almost like to see another squad of Panzer Grenadiers coming onto the map. There we go. Well done, Barton. You're reading my mind. And with that, we're bringing in...
300 points remaining.
Trying to think how this would work. Another set of Shreks would be fantastic in my mind. First of all, it would push back the Stuart that keeps coming on forwards, and now would be just as good against this Sherman. The question is, can the Sherman re-level the playing field over here with that HE shells? In the meantime, it does look like these Pioneers are going to respect the amount of damage that thing can do, and they're going to back away. And with his P-grunts. There we go. Yep, already getting upgraded. So we see that they're going to have this anti-tank squads that's just going to devastate their opposing numbers. Sherman doing some good work against his P4, mostly because the P4 just kind of charged on in. Not the best long-term play here, but here we go. We have these P-guns now in place in the garrison, and with 4 Shreks between them, 1 volley could really do some crazy damage here. And it looks like BartonPL has steffenbk running scared, or at least in place scared, as these mortars keep hanging back. And that might be what ends up being the United States players' downfall, is that these mortars have to have a long, extended period of time to really cause significant damage. Of course, when you have the Sherman in the area doing 50% damage just with a single shot, it's very encouraging
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
for those Pioneers to back away. And that's the danger of those mortar squads, though. If these guys are held still for even just a moment or two, they can really pay the price. However, this Stuart's going to go down, mark my words.
Ready for deployment.
Oh my gosh, one of the last one missed, and so that at that point, the Shreks fail to do the necessary damage. I don't know, maybe he got shot before he could let that last round off. But that Stuart makes it away with just a bare minimum of health. Repaired P4 moving over here to the western side with these rear echelons looking to cap out this fuel point. Going to be pretty easy, I would think, for the P4s to deflect this. He might give up the holding of this position, but it's not going to be capped out, I wouldn't think, until, of course, his Sherman comes on in. Rear armor hit in the meantime, not going to be great for the P4, but there's a second P4 coming on in. And is there any kind of AP ammo popped off? No, no AP ammo whatsoever. Blitzkrieg tactics popped, but the P4 goes down anyway. And here come the P-grunt squads to do damage. And naturally, we're going to see the Sherman do that crazy, crazy amount of crush that they always seem to do, which really makes me angry. What this has done in the meantime, though, is given those rear echelons more than enough time to retake the western fuel, as the Americans do the same thing over here in the east, it looks like, with this rifleman squad. Now, this Sherman really shouldn't make it. Smoke launchers to try to cover its retreat. But I think as it comes back to the right, these guys should be able to get off at least one more round. No, they don't. They stop again. Ugh. But the rear echelons do go down. That's a small victory right there for the Germans. Too busy microing those rear echelon squad. Excuse me, microing that Sherman. Understandably, that thing's way more expensive. And the rear echelons pay the price for it. Now, I'm wondering, are we going to see a dive from this Sherman? Excuse me, from this P4? Possibility. The Sherman's kind of beat up, though. He could have easily have dove enough just to encourage the death of that MBT. But he's not going to. He wants to give a chance. Also going to see down here it's retreating riflemen in the face of machine gun fire and stormtroopers. Those guys did not graduate from the Stormtrooper Academy of AIM. Just doing crazy amounts of work here. And now BartonPL almost has extended that commander point lead to almost an entire point, which is just shocking. You never really tend to see that. Not in a one-on-one anyway. Sometimes it happens in a, multiple team game, 2-on-2, 3v3, but very, very rarely in this particular position. Shrek squads again rushing on forwards, doing some work to the Stuart, but I don't think this other one's going to be enough damage. And they're going to just instead hunker down inside that garrison. Taking a quick look at veterancy, those mortars starting to get good veterancy. Again, the longer they're in the game, the better they are. Though that's been nerfed somewhat by the debuffs that mortars have gotten in their most recent patch. Meanwhile, over here on the western side, we are going to see this P4 throwing down against this captain. And the captain can probably annoy him to death. But with the help of these pioneers, he shouldn't be able to really pressure him effectively. But anyway, this P4 kind of hangs out, just doing work, I would assume. And with a charging Sherman, I always hate how poor the Wehrmacht P4 does against the Sherman. Now, Williams might go and debate this with me, and I'm sure I'm stepping on his toes already, but it shouldn't be quite this pronounced in terms of health lost. This engagement it doesn't seem to work entirely correctly in my mind. Hey, a triple cast happened in the meantime. 460 to 158 might see the death of this machine gun squad? No. At least I don't think so. Stormy's in the meantime running cover. Gonna really carve into that captain squad. And now with the reappeared Sherman, they have a more appropriate target. Which just continues to miss. Yikes, guys. Really? Stuart's coming back into the fray, and for some reason, yet again, these peak rounds just don't seem to have consistent, accurate shot against their greatest nemesis. But Barton, in the meantime, is going to go for a Jagdpanzer, or excuse me, not a Jagdpanzer, a Stug. I don't know why I'm combining my vehicles today, or even why I'm having such a great hardship here talking about units. Forgive me, guys. It hasn't been that long a day at work. But a Stug is coming out for Barton, and it should definitely be interesting to see how well that does. The Stug G not getting a ton of buffs in the most recent patch. Though, time to retreat, my friend. Time to retreat. There we go. And surviving peak run backs away. Though the Stug E, on the other hand, in the mechanized assault doctrine, has gotten himself a little bit more of combat buffs for it. I don't know if that was the stroke that ran that over, or somehow mortar round impacted long. I'm going to assume, just maybe, that it was in fact a, let's just call it negative attention. Mortar rounds almost coming down on their own troops, which I'm not sure how that quite happens. And yet again, this P4 throws rounds to the Sherman and just keeps missing. And now with another Sherman on the field, it looks like Barton's got to go and really stall out until he can get that late game Tiger Ace, which is just shocking because he really shouldn't be quite this far behind in armored vehicles. Stuka, in the meantime, coming forward and going to find itself outflanked by a Sherman. I don't think that's anywhere near the number of Shreks he needs to have to support here. Oh my god. Could this be how Barton loses all of his armor? There goes one right there. Where are the Shreks? Where are the Shreks? All the way to the west. Back home in base. Time to retreat, my friends. It's time to retreat. Never mind, he goes down anyway. And giving steffenbk a absurd edge in armored firepower. Shreks are moving in, though, to deal a little bit of damage in return. And of course, that's when they achieve 50% again accuracy as opposed to hitting consistently. Wondering if Barton might consider making a third squad of P-Shreks. Might be the best way forward on this one. He is still winning the overall infantry game. He's losing points here and there from very active capping. On the American side of things, oh my god, and that's stupid. Stewart just keeps living. Got 12 kills to his name, and now with a charging Sherman, this should not go well for it. One more salvo, 4 more years. Should be able to take it out, but instead both vehicles managed to escape. And because of that, the balance of power is still slightly, I would say, in steffenbk's favor. Of course, that's not to say that the entire game is going in his favor. We can obviously see by the scoreline that Barton has quite a stranglehold on this game. Mortars, in the meantime, could get some real damage done here. Trying to get some close-in firepower. Wow. So one impact and goes, and might even see the death of this mortar right here. Be good for the Germans to remove some of this indirect fire. And there we go. Take that out. They're going to back away. They're going to retreat. No, it's going to be a soft retreat in the meantime. And Barton is just going to go and stall out for that Tiger Ace now. He's got half the way there for manpower. And with under a 2-0 cap, there's no reason for him to really be pushing them the envelope too much of this. Shermans are charging again, though, and these guys, again, with HE can just do crazy, crazy damage at the worst time possible. See it right now, trying to take out this garrison. I don't know, well, how effective that might be. Of course, the HE against the garrison is going to be pretty devastating as well. But one Shrek convinces it to leave. Now, this could be kind of fun. Both squads leaping into this house right here could be a little bit of damage done. Yes, they hit him. One more salvo? Will that be enough? No, doesn't seem to be. Instead, the other Shrek squad throwing rounds at the captain instead petulantly. And I don't know if I like this decision to keep up there. Nope, yep. Barton decides to pull back. That's a good decision in my mind. As the other Sherman seems to think that he can push around the smaller, weaker members of the Wehrmacht army.
Send your orders.
A less vetted up Sherman is going to do some damage, I would think, to these retreating peak rents. Question is how much, and the answer to that is not enough. As while the Germans are losing their western VP, the Americans are losing manpower over the eastern one. Okay, and we're going to see that most annoying of things, the dive out of the Sherman. Question is, can this guy reinforce fast enough so that way he doesn't die? He does. He gets that last one to come out, destroyed engine, and that is a free Sherman to the American. So that's a dive gone wrong, my friends. 29 minutes in, we are going to see these riflemen over here getting taken on again by the stormtroopers, barely dropping any kind of health against that. Sherman dives in again, so that way the Germans can't take, cannot seize any kind of war material from them. Probably the best idea he could have done under the circumstances. I'm wondering if the stormtroopers might consider rushing on back and picking up that Shrek, making them very well rounded with the G43s as well as the anti-tank presence. But no, instead it goes over to these pioneers. So we have kind of converted OKW Sturmpyos after a fashion. And yikes, I didn't even notice that there was a mine in the middle part of the field, but there is, my friends, and that bulldozer Sherman, ironically has run all over it. There's not going to be a flail on this Earth that's going to do anything about it. And now the Stewart's going to make a mistake of rushing in front, I would say, of... Oh my gosh, get one more round. There we go. Oh my god, it still misses short. Pioneers going to be forced back. There they go, but never mind. They are out of the game, my friends. And more infantry falls from the German side of things as these machine guns who have survived so long might get taken out by this dive. Please don't tell me this is how this goes on. Reinforce, my friends. Reinforce. Survive. You must survive. Nope, and Barton loses pretty much all of his infantry as these diving HE Shermans just do an obnoxious amount of damage. Germans are under a 2-0 cap as we speak, and that's a little bit of a bad news for him right there. Because if he survives just a few seconds longer, he's going to get that Tiger Ace. And he kind of really needs to get that. Because now he has 3 squads of infantry, and here comes the Tiger Ace. Okay, so is this enough, though, to even this back out? Because I would hate to think that one dive will allow a U.S. victory here. Meanwhile, on the western side, we are going to see this MG-42 is going to force back the Americans. And this Tiger Ace could really do all the work he needs to be done. Frankly, all he needs to do is take out 2 or 3 squads, and we have something really happening here. Tiger Ace not looking to take that out. Instead, he's looking, I think, to pick on this 105 Bulldozer Sherman. First round goes long, but you know what? Let's give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt here. Yep, another round slams into him, and this might be... It's the Americans' turn to suffer, I think. 385 to 64. Americans are rushing on forwards, trying to put all the damage they can into this monster over here. But between the stormtroopers to back up this Tiger Ace, I think Barton should be able to survive. It won't be easy, mind you, but he should be able to survive.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Another Sherman coming on forwards and trying to go and pick on the weaker members. Again, we're going to see just the Tiger Ace charging on forwards. With the Stewart coming in behind, now an M10 called onto the fray. Question is, can it be enough of these annoying gadflies picked off before the American war machine can get enough firepower to deal with it? And I don't know the answer to that question. There's what, still 2 Shermans. And the Bulldozer Sherman. Oh no, one Bulldozer Sherman, 1 M10, 1 regular Sherman, and a Stewart. Now, I might be wrong, but I don't think the Stewart's going to be very annoying. And it looks like the Allied tanks are not concentrating their firepower all in the correct areas. Sherman was wasting its opportunity over here against the stormtroopers as opposed to moving on forwards, leaving this Tiger Ace more than enough time, I would argue, to rush to the fray and pick on everything known to mankind. Rear echelons could really lose it, though, if these pioneers get what they need to get done. Nope, they don't take on any models on retreat. I was going to say, dropping a bazooka here could have been quite good for the Germans. 371 to 64, the western side of the map. We're going to see the last surviving machine gun backing away here. Jeez. Racking up crazy amounts of kills. Damaged engine now on top of that Tiger. And he doesn't even manage to take out his Tormentor. Indeed, we're going to have now the captain charging on forwards. We've got the M10 coming on to the front as well. And we're just seeing again and again these massive assaults. Okay, another Stormtrooper squad was called in. It's time to make a Shrek on top of this. But the M10 charging on forwards, not going to be enough, I would argue. Pioneers wounded nearly unto death. And this Tiger Ace needs to decide which way he's aiming here. Re-armor hit on one side, doing some work, but not quite enough, I don't think. No, don't tell me this is how it ends. Not for this majestic creature. Bundle grenade, not enough to take it out. Tiger Ace goes down because he did not make any more anti-tank. Yay. Don't tell me this is how this ends. I'd be very upset. Barton was playing a brilliant game until steffenbk got a couple of very good trades. See machine guns starting to get recruited down here, but there's not a lot of veterancy left for the for the Germans. They have a couple of fairly weak members, and that's about it. Teller mines placed down over here, but it's 105 Sherman. Might be enough to just set it off by accident. Meanwhile, in the west, the Stuart's just going to annoy these guys to death. There we go. Finally get a Shrek on one squad. Finally get Shreks on both squads. There we go. That could have saved that Tiger, and he had more than enough to do it. I don't know why he didn't do it. As now the Stuart tries to go and just annoy them to not being able to fire. And I hate this about the American tanks. They're able to be so nimble about this. Riflemen now completely and totally suppressed, which is going to be good. If these guys get pinned, there we go. That's a victory right there unto itself. Fire the Shrek. Oh my gosh! Don't tell me this is happening, folks. Rear armor hits. Pop AP ammo. You could take that thing out finally, once and for all. Please. Oh my gosh. We have another dive happening over here, so now with this 105 Howitzer Sherman's going to win the game for him. I'm depressed. I am so depressed at this. Okay. So, Pioneers down. Stormies are going to die as well. Going to reinforce as quickly as possible, but that's not going to be quick enough. There's one Stormy squad. Oh, just barely making it out alive. Shrek is still on the field now. Shreks from both squads, but that's not going to last too much longer. There you go. That's 3 dead right there. And let's just speed this up because now it's just a base dive, and that's just depressing. So BartonPL, not seeing the victory he was, in my mind, due. As it looks like that the last of his infantry is going to be taken out by this ridiculous base dive. Yep, and that's going to be all I really see from the end of this one. I sincerely doubt it's going to be Hero Stug. Although right now looks like he's doing a decent job trying to be aggressive about it. With an M10 now behind him, I do not think he's got the distance for it. Can't call any other Tiger Ace onto the field. Stewart's dead, but that's not going to be enough. He has absolutely no infantry left. It's a 2-to-1 cap, and the Americans still have a fair chunk of vehicular damage here. Wait. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. No. No way. No way. Hero Stug. 2 stars of veterancy. He's already picked off 2 tanks already. Chasing for a 3rd one. Heck, if he goes either direction, but he's going to run right smack dab into these rear echelons, and that's going to be enough to take him out, I think. And there's another 105 Sherman called on in. Question is if he can get a round or 2 off against anybody. Nope. Nope, he's not going to. Instead, we're going to see P4 charging on into the fray, and I can't see this ending well. A recon pass happening overhead. P4 not be able to do anything. 248 to 59 tickets. Wait a second. Stug charged and Stug taken out by the M10. And now it looks like we're going to see the P4 going after the M10. The question is, can the M10 get away? I don't know, but this has become the most ridiculous ending to this game ever. I was so happy and I was so depressed by the way that Barton might not be able to pull this out. M10 does go down, though, leaving the Americans with just 1 Sherman. 105 Sherman and a regular Sherman. Problem with that is that the regular Sherman seem to be so good against these P4s.
M10 ready for action.
And there's another M10, so I imagine the next vehicle death for the Germans might be the end of it all. But in the meantime, we are going to see the stormtroopers being procced out on top over here at the American expansion VP. Rear armor hits happening here. Oh my gosh, this M10 has run across. Oh my god, could this be how this ends? M10 goes down. Sherman's on the wrong side of the map. And if these pioneers can take out the damage, the last bit of damage that, oh my, they fired the volley the wrong way. Oh my gosh, there goes 105 Sherman. Pioneers take out the rear echelons. Stormtroopers are continuing to harass back and forth, but this could be the greatest ending to this game now. Never mind, there goes the P4. And Barton doesn't have anywhere near enough infantry to take care of this. I was happy for just a second. I was so happy, and now it's over again, folks. I'm sorry. I can't be happy anymore. Stormtroopers have no upgrades, and Barton surrenders at 40 minutes and 56 seconds. The winner, with an obnoxious victory in my mind, is steffenbk1, with a final score of 59 to 181, losing in tickets, but winning the entire fight. So congratulations to him. And Barton, my friend, I thought you had it. I was super excited for you, and it crushes me to see the game end this way. We know that's co sometimes, right? Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in today for this match. I am always looking to feature your work out there as well. So if you have something you want me to check out, please email me at connellworkgaming@gmail.com with your replay. Tell me who you are, and tell me, anything I might want to check out about the game in particular. I'm happy to feature it. You can see it on Subscriber Saturday. And, yep, that's going to be it for me today, folks. You all have a great day. This is Connell Work signing off. Take it easy.